Welcome to today's video, where we are going to discuss one of the most misunderstood aspects of EB-1A or 1A extraordinary ability petitions. Many self-petitioners think that if they can check off at least 3 of the 10 regulatory criteria, they are guaranteed approval. But here's the truth. That's only half the battle. Today, I am going to show you actual USCIS documentation that reveals the minimum criteria alone will never get you approved, and what you actually need to do to succeed. Let me start with the biggest misconception I see in the EB-1 self-petitioners community. Self-petitioners think it's a checklist, get at least 3 criteria, submit your petition, and you are golden. This thinking has caused countless qualified individuals their approvals. The reality is that the EB-1 process involves a sophisticated 2-step analysis that most self-petitioners don't understand. Even if you have stellar evidence for multiple criteria, you can still get denied if you don't understand how USCIS actually evaluates your case. Here is actual documentation from a USCIS case. This shows step 1 of their analysis, determining whether evidence meets the basic regulatory criteria. In this example, we see the beneficiary conducted peer reviews for scientific journals. USCIS concluded that this evidence meets the regulatory criteria for participation as a judge of the work of others. This looks good, right? Well, hold on. This is where most people stop thinking, but USCIS is just getting started. And here's the bombshell that most self-petitioners never see. This is also from official USCIS documentation, as you see on the screen, and it explicitly states that meeting the minimum regulatory criteria alone will not establish eligibility for EB-1 classification. Think about that for a moment. Even if you have perfect evidence for multiple criteria, USCIS is telling you that is not sufficient for approval. They are looking for something more, something that most self-petitioners completely miss. So, what is USCIS really looking for? They need to determine whether you, the self-petitioner, you are among that small percentage who have risen to the very top of the field of your endeavor, your field of expertise, and whether you have sustained national or international acclaim. Notice the language here. That is not looking for someone who is good at their job or even excellent. They are looking for someone who is extraordinary, who stands among the very elite in their field, even as a young or early career professional. So examples of things to consider include providing further details like the significance of your contributions, the impact of your work, and how that translates to you standing out in your field. You can also add context like impact factors, invitation details, and selectivity metrics. For example, I was specifically selected by prestigious journals such as this, and that because of my recognized expertise in X, Y, and Z. And you back that up with objective evidence. It could be an email from the organizers. and not just a one-time thing. Show evidence that is being sustained. This is why I see so many qualified people get denied. They put together evidence that clearly meets the regulatory criteria in step 1. However, they don't think about how to present that evidence to demonstrate extraordinary ability in step 2. For example, you might have published scholarly articles, but if those articles have minimal citations or appeared in low-impact journals, USCIS might conclude you haven't achieved sustained national or international acclaim. Similarly, you might have judging experience, for example, but if it's just routine peer review that any competent professional in your field would do, it doesn't necessarily prove you are extraordinary. Here's how you need to think strategically about your evidence. As an example, for every piece of evidence you submit, you need to address both steps 1 and 2 of the analysis. First, clearly show how it meets the regulatory criteria, but don't stop there. Then go further by articulating why your evidence demonstrates that you are extraordinary. Let's use our peer review example. Of course, you don't just want to show that you reviewed papers. You perhaps want to go further to explain why you were chosen as a reviewer, as a judge of the work of others in your field of expertise. What makes your expertise special? How did your judging, your review, contributed to the field? What kind of papers did you review? Who are the authors of those papers? Or how being selected as a judge or reviewer reflects your standing in the community of that field of expertise. Compared to others in your field, not just whether you can document that certain event occurred. You have to go the extra mile. Please take note. Submitting massive volumes of documentation doesn't guarantee success. What matters is the quality and significance of your evidence. You want to focus on demonstrating impact, peer recognition, and your comparative standing in the field. Think about how your achievement compared to others in your field, not just whether you can document that certain events occurred. Let me highlight some red flags that suggest you might struggle in step 2. If you are presenting routine professional activities as extraordinary, claiming local recognition as national, or if you are a recent graduate or currently pursuing your PhD with limited track record, you probably need to be especially careful about how you frame your case. Generic recommendation letters that do not provide specific probative examples or context are particularly weak, or relying totally on recommendation letters. USCIS can spot the difference between someone who is competent in their field and someone who is truly extraordinary. To succeed in step 2, you need to provide context that helps USCIS understand why your achievements are extraordinary. This might include comparative data showing how you rank against others in your field, expert testimonials that explain the significance of your work, quantitative metrics like citation count or journal impact factors sole authorship or major co-authorship contributions, or documentation of media coverage and recognition you have received. Remember, USCIS officers may not be experts in your field, so you really need to educate them about what makes your achievement special. And this is solely based on your documentation in your petition. That includes your objective evidence supporting all your claims. Before we wrap up, let me reinforce the key insight of this particular video. Meeting 3 criteria is just the beginning. It's not a guarantee of approval of EB-1A or EB-1A self-petition. The real battle happens in step 2, where you must prove extraordinariness, not just competence. This requires strategic thinking about how to present your evidence and provide context that can help USCIS understand your true standing in your field. Alright, if you found this information helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more insights. And please remember, while this information is educational, every case is unique and complex situations may benefit from professional guidance. So thanks for watching. Reach out if need be. Our details are on the screen. You can see the email and website and all other social media platforms. If you know someone who is considering an EB-1A petition, please share this video with them. This information could really save them from making costly mistakes. Think of it this way. We've had self-petitioners who submitted their petition. All good. They received requests for more evidence, they packaged it well, and they submitted again. Guess what? They actually met at least 3 of the criteria, which one would say, wow, that is what is required of USCIS. But even at that, they get denied. What is the major problem? They weren't able to analyze and present evidence that can strongly back up the step 2 analysis from USCIS, which is about their extraordinary ability, showing that they are among the top percentage in their field of expertise. So, until next time, keep pushing forward